Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone watching this. This is Dungeon World. My name's Joe. I'll be your GM, as you can see down here. There we go. And with me today, we've got Chris and we've got Alex, two of my lovely, well, one of my lovely Patreon followers, and hopefully one soon to be Patreon follower. We've also got Tom coming to join us, hopefully shortly. I have no idea what happens when someone joins an on-air session, so that will be interesting. Hopefully it won't completely crash the whole thing. We shall see. We've just finished running through our characters so far, so we've done most of the stuff. Just very briefly for the audience, guys, let's start with you, Alex. Do you want to just go through your character, what the other players would see, and a few general thoughts, if you like, one or two thoughts on your character?
Sure. I'm Timov, a paladin of Mirka, from the bleak taiga of Mirkasa. And I'm a very bulky paladin with fancy holy symbol, a helmet, and glowing eyes, which I've kind of acquired by hanging around the gnomes too much. Might be radioactivity, but it looks cool. Yeah. And I'm carrying a longsword and a shield, also adorned with the holy symbol of Mirka, which is a iron ring, which, thanks to the gnomes, also glows. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Not the brightest tool in the shed, but a very, very hardy paladin, so more like a tank.
An electrically powered tank, absolutely.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Chris, do you want to go through your character?
Yeah, I'm going to be playing Mortimer von Leichenstein, or Morty to his friends. He is a dashing hero, which is one of the extra playbooks you can find for Dungeon World. He is a young man who has the look of someone with a bit of wealth to him, maybe, but he seems to travel around a lot. Deep emerald eyes that peer over the top of a pointed nose, with a trim black moustache that is oiled into curls at the end. He's dressed in the most current fashions, if not a little on the tatty side. Carries around himself with a tall top hat, and he walks with a cane, despite the fact he doesn't need one. And for those of the observant, will notice that is actually a sword cane, which is his dueling rapier. And as for armor, he only wears a very fine sheet of kind of sort of very gleaming silver armor over the top of his flouncy shirt that he wears. He carries himself with confidence and is not afraid to back down from a fight, especially when it comes to insulting friends over matters of honor. And I'm sure he'll be getting into many hijinks during this.
Good. And he's from...
he's from Chalcedon.
So, for the benefit of people watching at home, we are playtesting a couple of extra rules of mine. Basically, I'm calling. I guess I've still got work in progress, but I'm thinking of calling them something like Homeland rules or culture moves, something like that. If anyone watched last week's episode of Mask of Midnight, you'd have seen a previous playtest of them. Broadly speaking, for anyone who's been watching or reading my Patreon adventures, you probably noticed some recurring themes, some recurring places, names, that sort of thing. I'm starting to kind of typify these and set these up as kind of cultures of their own, which kind of give new characters kind of a booster set of ideas. I suppose you might think of it a bit like talents in World of Warcraft or something like that, or just it really is just very simple extra fictional options and a few extra things in terms of race. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail when we make some moves. Right, just joining us now, we also have Tom, who I think, Tom, you're going to have to unmute yourself, if I understand that right. Okay, can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
Great, okay, cool. Tom, you've already got your barbarian setup I'm running, haven't you? I know you're a little bit pressed for time, so I don't think you've had a chance to go through the Homeland rules. But do you want to talk us through Borin the Barbarian?
He's a fighter rather than a barbarian.
Oh, fighter, sorry, stand corrected. Yeah, Borin the fighter. And I know that you haven't seen the Homeland rules as yet, but of course you did play in a couple of the most of the playtest stuff from previously. So names like Chalcedon, Mercassa, the Green Scar, these sorts of things. If you want to kind of say that your character's from one of these places in particular, go for it. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Just describe your character as written.
Okay, yeah, it's Boren. He's a hardy dwarven fighter. He's fairly young for a dwarf, but obviously that's older than most humans anyway. He's got heavy scale armor on his body and metal bracers, but his upper arms are bare to show his muscles. He's got long reddish-brown hair and beard, many of it in plaits with sort of bronze clasps. And he has a heavy white Yeti cloak, which he wears around him, and a huge two-handed axe, which is his ancestral weapon, lots of dwarven runes engraved on it.
Oh yeah, that's right, I remember now. Awesome. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So before we get started on the setup of the game proper, we're going to do something which is probably familiar to anyone who's played Dark Heart of the Dreamer, Plain Art Codex, that sort of thing, which is heritage moves. So Alex and Chris, or rather Timov and Mortimer, both come from specific lands. So instead of their normal race options, which would be human for the paladin, and what race are you actually, Morty?
He's human.
Human as well. And what races would you normally get for Dashing Hero?
You would normally get human or elf.
Right. So basically, what my bonus rules are essentially saying is it doesn't really matter what race you are: elf, dwarf, halfling, lizard man, orc, human, whatever. What's important is where you come from. So these two humans come from two different places, and that means that they have basically heritage moves, a little bit like monster moves, which they can make over the course of a game. So what I'd like both of you to do now, Morty and Alex, is roll 2d6 and add your wisdom. On a 10 plus, hold 3. On a 7 to 9, hold 2. And a 6 or less, hold 1, in addition to whatever else I say. You still mark experience on a 6 minus as well. What have we got here?
Okay, so wisdom.
Wisdom, that's right.
Yep. All right, I got an 8.
Okay, so you hold 2. And Alex?
Okay, I've got a 6 because my wisdom is just 12.
Ah, okay. So you hold 1, and you also mark experience. And I'm going to hold on to that for a minute, because we haven't even started yet, so I'm not going to immediately just be like, oh, well, rocks fall on Alex. Probably a little bit early for that. But you have got, basically, something's going to happen based on your culture, I guess. So we'll hold on to that for now. Right, let's get started then. So we are going to be playing. So I suppose I should say one last thing as well. You may have seen, if you were following on Patreon, that I did release some of the notes in terms of like upcoming adventures and stuff like that. So Tom and Alex, you may have seen some early access stuff. I don't know if you guys had a look yet.
No, not yet.
No? That's good, because otherwise, potential spoiler alert. So, good. For anyone who has been keeping track of that stuff and following along at home, we are going to be playtesting Lord Dominar's Estate, which is one of the Patreon ones by... I've actually not got his name to hand. That's really smart of me. One of my pledgers who has pledged a little bit extra and is has basically sent me a list of characters, a list of names, and basically NPCs to basically bring into this adventure. So this adventure is towards him. That is for Mike Burnett. So I hope you're watching, Mike. If not, I'm sure you'll read it soon. Right, Lord Dominar's Estate. So you guys are in Chalcedon. Chalcedon is this kind of green and pleasant land, you know, kind of a wide, spacious continent with farmland interspersed with kind of bustling cities on the edge of an industrial revolution, pretty much riding the plateau of an industrial revolution, in fact. You know, brass gears, steampunkery, the usual suspects, really. You guys are in more of the wild area of Chalcedon, more of the rolling hills and green farmlands, rather than the bustling city today, as it happens. you guys are actually up in the mountains in the region of the estate of one Lord Dominar, who has called all three of you here separately. He's called in his banners. He's been under attack. His estate, which is kind of at the foot of the mountains, has been under attack for many, many months now. The mountain tribes used to be kind of they used to just do the odd random raid, but they weren't really organized or particularly bothered about taking land or anything like that. But a fair few months ago now, a new leader took over. Someone came around, organized the mountain raiders into kind of a more unified force, and basically has started taking Lord Dominar's estate apart piece by piece. It's basically whittled down to a shadow of its former self. Lord Dominar is basically at his wit's end, and he's a proud man and not really the sort of person to kind of turn tail and run. So he's basically turned to you guys. He's called in his banners, and he's basically called in as many favors as he can to kind of rustle up a force of like his remaining retainers in his household, and he's basically surging out into the mountains to put an end to this new leader or die in the attempt. And wouldn't you know it, you guys are there too. So let's start by sort of saying you're tracking this leader. What's brought you? Why are you so keen to follow Lord Dominar? Is it honor? Is it glory? Is it filthy money? What's kind of what's important for the three of you? Let's start with you, Timov.
There's a friendship between Lord Dominar and the leader of the gnomes, and he helped them out way back when.
Cool.
And so he called in their favor, and since I'm also friends with the gnomes, they asked me to lend my shield and sword to this endeavor.
Sweet. Nice. So you are actually there sort of representing the gnomes as kind of almost an envoy here. And did you know Lord Dominar personally?
No, I've only heard that he's a very wise and fair ruler, and he has done good by the gnomes, and I should do my very best to help him out.
Cool. And I imagine that's going to be your quest for today, isn't it?
Yes.
Defending Lord Dominar from the iniquities that beset him. Cool.
Right.
Just for anyone watching at home, Timov is a paladin, and paladins go on quests because that is awesome. As part of his quest to defend Lord Dominar, he has been given a couple of boons from his goddess, Mikasa. He is tireless. He doesn't need to eat or sleep or drink until his quest is complete. He also has senses that can pierce through lies. But there's a trade-off. He also must keep his honor. He can't be doing anything which is seen as dishonorable, because this is obviously an honorable quest that he's on. And he also must uphold piety. He must maintain the rights of Mikasa every morning and make sure to be keeping up on this. Or risk losing his powers, basically, that he gained from this quest. Cool. Morty, what brings you to the side of Lord Dominar?
Well, Lord Dominar and I go back a little way. My father and he were friends, and I'm sort of just coming out of I don't know, my last adventure, my last sort of like I've spent my money, maybe gambled it away, or in houses of ill repute, perhaps spent too many of those. And whilst I'm also looking for a bit of honour here, to regain for myself and to get a bit of glory, a bit of coin wouldn't be amiss. And I just think that I could use shake off the cobwebs a bit and take my sword to any brigands out there in the mountains.
Definitely. Coin is something that he isn't without. His estate's fallen on hard times, and a lot of money's been frittered away on mercenaries over the years. I'd like to kind of rustle up enough of a force to actually strike out into the mountains, but there's still plenty left, and obviously his name carries quite a lot of weight, not just here but abroad, as we've just found out. Cool. Borin, what brings you to Lord Dominar's side?
Borin has never personally met the Lord, but my people have had trade with him and his father before him for many years. So my father has sent me here on his behalf to help him secure his estate. So therefore, obviously, continue the trade and the friendship between us.
Nice, nice. So a fiercely loyal man whose family has done a lot for basically anyone under the mountains over the centuries. Um, cool. Does that mean that there is a link between dwarves and gnomes? Alex, Tom, feel free to confer. Is there a link between dwarves and gnomes in this, or is it just a coincidence?
I'd imagine there are strong ties. There'd be trading and crafts between them.
Cool.
Yeah,
Excellent.
that's where the gnomes get all their metal for all their electricity stuff from,
Mhm.
and they built better mining machines for the dwarves.
Excellent. Excellent. Mining machines. I like it. Okay. Good. At the moment, you're. Oh, actually, I should say, when you guys arrived, um, you guys didn't know each other, as you've just established. You've come from kind of three different corners, just kind of united by this guy who's he's an honourable soul. So you're assuming he's keeping honourable company, and that much has been enough to stop you from, you've got bigger jobs to do than be at each other's throats, if nothing else. So there's that. The other thing is that the three of you did actually meet very briefly. You met on the road because there's sort of one road going up to the mountains. Um, However, when you were on your way up there was originally four of you. One of you died on the way up here. Um, Timov, who was he?
Our bard.
Your bard. Okay, your bard. Um, how did he die, Christopher Morty?
Hmm. I'm gonna say we were ambushed
Okay,
by
okay,
by a small group of locals, brigands.
okay. By local brigands.
Yeah,
Okay.
but maybe bandits.
hmm Okay, cool. And
And he fell in the ensuing combat and during that.
yeah, sure. He took a bad blow, and that was
Yeah.
the end of it, sort of thing. Um, Borin, did you like him particularly?
No, he was. I didn't hate him, but he was a little irritating.
That's a bard for you.
That's Bard's point. Okay. Actually, I'll tell you what. That was a bit of a boring last question. I ran out of questions to ask for that third one. That was actually something better asked for the three of you, I think. So Borin didn't like him particularly and didn't necessarily jump to his aid. What about the rest of you?
I was too busy trying to defend myself and sort of take out as many guys as I could to try and get into one of his new songs before I realised he'd fallen in
Stop
battle.
singing. Okay. And what about you, Timov?
Oh, I liked him. He had lots of interesting stories to tell um, about this place, which I've never been to.
Okay.
And I'm kind of bummed out that he died on my watch, so I'm now even more firm in my quest to defend the next person, like Lord Dominar. That's not
Right.
going to happen again.
Right. Okay. Cool. So there's Bard fell. Another kind of friend of Lord Dominar's fell on the way. But the rest of you have made it up and started making your way up the mountains. Now, you haven't gone unprepared. He has given you some supplies on the trip. However, they have started running low. So what I'd like each of you to do right now is just roll a d4 for me. And whatever result you roll, you can split that between rations, adventuring gear, or kind of similar things. Let's say rations, adventuring gear, ammo, and bandages. Um, so for example, Morty, you could take 2 rations or 1 ration, 1 adventuring
Hmm.
gear, 1 bandage, or whatever. This is what's left. Basically, we're skipping over the perilous journey. I'm telling you right now, it was perilous, and we'll tell you a bit more in a minute. But this is kind of what you've got left for any future perilous journeys. Okay. So I won't worry too much about the nitty gritty. I'll take your word for it. If you want to just add something in terms of your gear,
Are we adding this on top of what we already had, or is this taking? Are we taking
No,
away?
this is adding on top of what you already
Oh,
had.
okay.
Just to equalise a little bit, because I know some of you don't start with any adventuring gear or any rations, so it seems a bit daft that you wouldn't be going up there without any kind of gear, and you have kind of answered his summons, so without anything else, his retainers are going to be supplying you with some supplies along the way. Okay, so you're up in the mountains. It's been at least 3 days, although time started to kind of drag on a little bit. You know, the hot summer sun is pounding down from you from the top of the mountains. You've wound your way up. You've fought off a couple of kind of light ambushing parties, but so far it's been relatively straightforward. Let's see how well you've been tracking. What have you been doing to kind of track this rival leader, this leader of the mountain tribes? Let's go through each of you. You'll make a roll, and depending on how well you do as a group, we'll kind of take an average, and we'll use that as a result to see how well you are along the trip at the moment. All right? So, Timov, you've been, like I say, you've been on the mountains for a few days now. There's been raids from rival parties. There's been the guy himself to track. There's been Lord Dominar and his retainers to defend. And there's been, you know, just general day-to-day maintenance and whatever. What have you been doing to kind of...
I have been keeping watch because I don't need to sleep or eat or anything like this. So I've been watching out for raiders and sounding the alarm if anybody comes too near.
Cool. You'll be rolling plus whiz. Morty, what are you doing? What have you been doing, I should say?
I've been kind of I've got quite a sharp eye, so I've been kind of keeping a lookout for anything that gives sign that there's someone been through here recently. I'm doing my best kind of ranger impression and tracking, I suppose, and leaving maybe guidance through the mountains to my friends.
Leaving what? Sorry.
The guidance through the mountains to my friends.
Oh, you're guiding the others. Okay.
Well,
so
maybe I wouldn't say I'm guiding others. I'm keeping my eye out, and maybe they're guiding.
Right. Okay. It sounds like you're rolling plus whiz as well, then, just for slightly different reasons. Orin, what about you?
I've been shaking down and interrogating travellers and shepherds and people sort of out that we see.
Excellent. All right. That sounds like a strength roll to me. Sounds like you're outright intimidating them. So, everyone go ahead and roll, plus whatever I just told you, and we'll see what the sort of total result is. So we've got Morty has 7.
Is that popping up on there? Because it's not coming up on my screen.
Yep, I can see that just fine.
Okay.
I also have 7.
7 and a 7 and a 10 overall. Is that a 10? At least a 10.
Yeah, it's
12?
a 10. I have wisdom 12, so it's still a 10.
Oh yes, okay, that's right. It's wisdom, of course. Cool. So that's a 10. So what I'll do is I'll take that as an average. So we had 2 7s and a 10. Take the best of that, 10. And yeah, so overall you guys have been doing pretty well. You've been able to keep the party. Let's say there's a dozen or so retainers of various sorts. There's Lord Dominar himself. There's you guys. Lord Dominar's kind of old housekeeper, this kind of wizened old crone who's been following along in Lord Dominar's footsteps, kind of tending to him, tending to the party, picking up healing herbs along the way, this sort of thing. Her name's Yosei. She's this old kind of crooked, she's kind of a witch type character, at least in appearance, and she's been very close to the Lord's side at all times. The other person who's been very close to the Lord's side is someone who basically looks like he's come fresh off the mountains himself. He's known as, where was his name? Here we go, Targan. Great big muscly barbarian-esque character, all decked out in like goat hides and furs. Targan's been very close to Lord Dominar as well, basically keeping an eye out for, not just for harm, but for keeping an eye out for anyone else coming by as well, basically. And then various other retainers, squires, supply runners, donkeys, that sort of thing, basically. Up to about 24 of you total. Thanks to your efforts of Morty's kind of trailblazing, if you like, you've and Timov's kind of tireless watch, you've been able to keep most people intact. and thanks to Borin's basic shakedown of people as they went by, I suppose under different circumstances, Dominar would be a little bit unsure about this. After all, the sort of the humble shepherds and the like are kind of his people, his peasants, for his kind of fiefdom here. But by the same token, desperate times call for desperate measures, and Dominars wants this over as much as you do. So he turns a blind eye to this kind of rather brutal shakedown, and as it happens, it pays off. A couple of these shepherds, a couple of them with really kind of crooked eyes and nasty dispositions, and particularly kind of lackluster flocks. They do actually help the mountain tribes more than hinder them, and they tend to lead you in the right direction. So you're making a good beeline for the enemy camp. In fact, the only problem you've had so far, really, you've been able to keep everyone defended except for Lord Dominar himself. Last night at the ambush, there was an almost ambush, let's say, that Timur was able to kind of shout out and rouse everyone in time. So everyone kind of was called out to arms and made it out. There was no fatalities, but there were a fair few scrapes and bruises, and Lord Dominar did take a nasty stab in the kind of the midsection. A lucky hit by a raider kind of basically cleaved his side, got him in the sternum just before he was cut down. So he's kind of there. He's still walking around. He's still whole and whatnot. And his babysitter, if you like, Yosei, she's still kind of tending to his wounds and binding them just as he's still walking around. It's now, that was, let's say, this morning. Let's say that was early this morning. And it's now getting on for nighttime. You've been wandering for a while, and you've been kind of taking it a bit slower because Dominar can't walk quite as fast with his stab wound. But you've been still making as best progress you possibly can, and you know you're going in the right direction. Nightfall's coming. The sun's going down over the bottom of the hill, over the bottom of the mountains. And in the distance, whoever's leading from the front, let's say Timov, since you're truly tireless, Timov, you're the first to hear a distant howling of beasts of some kind. What do you do?
Does this howling sound familiar to me? Have I heard this before?
Certainly sounds like a beast, although maybe like actually, I'll tell you what, why don't you go ahead and spout lore for me? You certainly would have known about hunting wild beasts, because the grey tigers of Merca, these snow-capped forests, probably have quite a lot of wild beasts to be hunted down. So why don't you go ahead and roll plus intelligence for me, and we'll see if it sounds familiar to anything you know.
Okay, that's +0, so... Oh, let me just... That was 2 and 1, so...
That was the 2 and 1, yeah. So a 3, so mark experience.
What howling?
Well, the howling's obvious. In fact, the howling continues. So you're the first to hear this, but the others hear it soon after. But yeah, it's not a howl that you recognize, but it sounds big and it sounds scary, and it sounds like there's a lot of them.
Oh.
Echoing away.
Do we all hear this?
By this point, you do. Yeah, you hear it.
I've pulled my my rapier out. My sword cane is out.
Absolutely.
And ready.
Mm-hmm. And the witch has been she's still kind of furiously turning. It's almost like she didn't hear it. Everyone else is kind of their ears are pricked up, but the witch is still just tending as if nothing's happened. But Dominar's also kind of heaved himself to his feet and kind of got his ancestral family. Let's say it's like a family mace, like an ancestral mace, and this mace is gilded with all the kind of honourable stuff that his family's done over the years. There's sigils from the dwarves and the gnomes and other races that he's helped in the past, and he's kind of heaved himself to his feet with this mace and looked to the three of you without a word, basically, looking to you as if to say, what next? He's an honourable man, but he's not a fighter, and he doesn't really know tactics.
I also draw my sword and ready my shield, and put myself between the Dominar and the probably oncoming howls.
Okay. The rest of you?
Right.
What
So
terrain are we in? Sorry, Chris.
yeah, go on. That's what I was going to ask as well, actually.
Say again, sorry?
What kind of terrain are we in? Are we in like an open plain, or is there?
You're in a rocky crevasse. In fact, it would have been a relatively good place to camp for the night. There's you're in a sort of a small ravine, almost like more of a ditch almost than a ravine, where the ground has kind of tumbled down. So there's two large outcroppings to your left and right, and basically the path kind of spiraling down below you and spiraling up ahead of you. The rocky outcroppings aren't super high up. They're probably, say, about 10 feet above you, say. You know,
Okay.
you could jump up and grab them with your fingertips and haul yourself
Yeah.
up if you wanted to.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Since there's always something that's handy for me to use. There's a vine or something or roots growing out of the side of this, and
Absolutely.
I sword between my teeth. I grab hold and pull myself up in order to get a good look to see if I can see anything coming, because I imagine that if there's a lot of this noise, we're not entirely sure which way it's coming from.
Absolutely.
So I sword between my teeth and pull myself up.
So
to have a look.
just to clarify, do you just do the move?
Well, the move says there is always a chandelier or whatever, or similar unusual environmental hazard handy in any situation. It would be convenient for you and remotely plausible. That's what it says.
Okay.
So
That's
I'm
fine
guessing
then.
there's no roll for it.
No. Well, it's certainly there.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah. So I'm saying this is what I'm going to do, is try and pull myself up.
Pull yourself up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's more important, hauling yourself up onto the top there, or getting a good look around? In other words, discerning realities.
Well, getting a good look around really would be more important.
Okay, fair enough. So why don't you go? Let's assume that it's relatively easy to get yourself up there, but the key is sort of getting yourself up there in time to get a good look around at the same time. So you're going to be rolling plus whiz. While you're doing that, and Timov is getting his sword out, Borin, what are you doing? What are you doing with the? Oh, that looks good. What are you doing with the kind of the convoy? Because there's lots of other people about, and they're armed, but only with kind of household weapons. You know, crude hatchets, shovels, pitchforks, that sort of thing, whatever they could get from the keep, basically. And they're starting to get riled up. They've already been attacked once today, and they haven't really recovered from all their scrapes and bruises yet. So there's that. Also, of course, there's whatever's making these howls in the distance as well. So, and there's Lord Dominar to think of. So, Borin, what's your thoughts right now? What do you do?
Well, I'm going to try and form these people into a bit more of a militia rather than a ragtag band, because in my homeland, we're all just craftsmen or blacksmiths and things. When it comes to war, we don't have an army as such. We all just form a militia, so we're used to this sort of turning non-fighters into fighters. So I'm going to use that experience to form a battle line, or maybe like a circle around us if you're not sure where the sound's coming from.
So it sounds like you're trying to manipulate them. It sounds like you're sort of parlaying, because you're trying to manipulate them into becoming kind of a fighting warband, right? Rustle them into order. You'll need some kind of leverage. It's like, come on, guys, do this or do this and I will, or do this and I won't. You know, that's sort of what's happening here. So what's the leverage you've got to actually get these guys rustled up and actually into fighting shape?
I'm going to do it for the Lord. May I protect him? He's injured. He needs people around him.
So your leverage here is basically your Lord's honor. It's like, come on, we're all here to help our Lord, and
yeah,
cool. Form ranks, you dogs. Yeah, okay, that sounds like a good parlay to me. So go ahead and roll plus charisma.
7.
7. Okay, good. So you get it, but not without consequence, I believe. Right. Timov, you've drawn your blade. You're there basically at the front of the convoy, at the front of this kind of mini ravine. Morty, you're at the roof of the the kind of the roof of the ledge here, and that's exactly where you're at. And yeah, you discern realities. You see a giant timber wolf as you crest over the mountain.
Yep.
Because you're kind of pulling yourself. Actually, it's not even like a hauling yourself, because it's more, you're more dashing than that. You're being
yeah. Oh no, there's no struggle.
You swing over. You grab a vine and sort of swing yourself and vault yourself up. And you're like, yeah, you turn to the others and turn around. And then as you turn around, there's a giant timber wolf there, at least as big as you are. Shaggy, grey and black and yellow matted fur. And it's just growling at you.
Like it's
Eyes
close, yeah.
slitted. And, yeah.
Yeah,
It
okay.
is within leaping distance. And you
Right.
are at the front of the cliff. What do you do? Other than the mark experience, obviously.
I've done that. Okay. All right. So I've obviously got my sword already,
hmm
and I'm at the edge, and presumably it's kind of like it's in front of me, and my back's to the cliff.
If you do nothing, it's going to basically leap at you and launch you over the edge.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, okay. I'm going to. So is it literally about to leap at me?
Yes.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leap to the side and try and like tuck and roll and if I can maybe swing at it as it jumps past me.
Okay.
But just before I do that, I shout "wolf" as I leap to kind of let these guys below me know
Okay. Cool.
what's up here.
Sounds good. So it sounds like you're defying danger using Dex,
I believe so.
unless there's some kind of dashing move I'm not aware of.
Well, actually, that's the point. Well, I've got an 8, but just double check. I've got. Well,
8, sorry.
I didn't laugh confidently, so I'm not going to be a daring devil in this case.
You were caught unawares. And
yeah,
like,
I didn't get a chance to do that. So yeah, I just go.
Yeah.
It's more just wolf, and then I'm leaping, and if it, I'm assuming if it flies to the air, I'm kind of trying to slash as I go past it.
Okay. Cool. Right. And what did you say? I didn't see your roll there.
I've got a 6 and then +2, so 8.
Oh really?
It's a 5 and a 1.
Oh, that dice didn't come up. Okay. Okay, no worries. Cool. So you've got a 6 altogether. Sorry, what did you say?
An 8 altogether. Sorry.
8 altogether.
I can re-roll it if you want me to.
No, that's fine. Just couldn't. It went out of my head for a minute there. You got an 8. Okay, that's fine. So you basically you sidestep it, but you don't manage to cause it. It kind of leaps over your rapier, kind of goes low and it goes high. Just almost luck of the draw. So you're there, you've got your footing, you've got your rapier out, you've kind of slashed at it, but it's leapt over your slash and just basically, but of course it's sailed into the ravine where Borin is trying to basically rouse up this rabble into an actual fighting unit.
Mm-hmm.
And the team of you, kind of the best part of a dozen of you, basically, is you, Borin. There's the Lord. There's the witch, and various others, and there's probably a dozen of you total. And this wolf just comes crashing into the lot of you. So you got a 7, did you say, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me just remind myself. Oh, that's right. They need some. They need some kind of assurance of your promise right now. So you're basically saying, "Come on, let's do this. Let's protect the Lord and finish this and keep these mountains safe and clean." And you're trying to rouse them up and basically get them up into a fighting spirit. And they've sort of turned to Lord Dominar for assurance of that, right? They're looking, so they need concrete assurance, but actually they don't really need it from you. They need it from Dominar himself, because he's right there, right? He's right next to you. So, and to be fair, he has sort of pulled himself up, and he's kind of leading from the front. So he's just about to kind of say some words. It's kind of bullet time here. He's about to say some assuring words when out of the corner of your eye you see this wolf sailing over the ravine, and it's going to crash right into Dominar. It's going to pounce on him basically, and it's going to kind of short circuit any kind of heroic speech he was about to give Borin. What do you do?
I'm gonna, well, like it's a baseball and my axe is a bat. I'm gonna try and slam it back. This wolf.
You're going to try and outright just slam it. Is that going to be stand? It sounds like you're standing in defense of him then, because you want to be in the way of. Do you want to be in the way of it? Do you want to be? Do you want to take the hit in worst case scenario, or do you want to?
I'd imagine, I would have stepped into the path and then taken my swing.
Cool. So it sounds like you're rolling plus con.
10.
A 10, lovely. A nice, good 10. So you're holding free. As long as you stand in the fence, so you're now right in front of Lord Dominar, axe held high. And as long as you stay there, you or the thing that you defend, Lord Dominar is attacked, you can spend one of your holds to choose an option. You can redirect the attack from the thing you defend to yourself. You can halve the attack's effect or damage. You can open up the attacker to an ally, giving them +1 forward, or you can deal damage to the attacker equal to your level. So you can't get your axe out. This is all happening in a second. You'd like to go and take a kind of a full-on swing at this thing, but you haven't quite got the time. You can, however, kind of get your axe in the way, your axe and yourself into the way, and kind of take the hit of this wolf, or redirect it, and basically embroil yourself and let Lord Dominar kind of say his piece if you want to. What do you want to do?
Yes, I'll do that. I'd have to pick from the previous option.
So if you want to pick from one of those, that's in a general sense. I'll just copy and paste them in for you. There you go. Those in the chat. So you can redirect the attack to yourself. You could kind of catch it in its jaws with your axe and kind of slam it to the ground, and then it's going to be attacking you rather than him. You could outright kind of halve the damage by kind of maybe shoulder charging him out of the way. You could open it up to an ally. Timov is still here. We'll get to Timov in a second. Or you could just kind of clip it and deal 2 damage to it.
If I opened it up to an ally, Lord Dominar would still take damage, though, wouldn't he?
That's right.
I'll redirect it to myself, I think.
Okay, fair enough. So you basically jump into the way and kind of it's pouncing on Lord Dominar, and you kind of pounce on it. So you kind of shoulder charge it out of the way, and the two of you are now tussling on the floor. And you dimly hear in the background as you're kind of tussling over the rubble, and this thing snapping at your face. You hear Lord Dominar kind of shouting words of confidence to his people. He's like mentioning people by name. It's like, yeah, come on, Jimmy. Yeah, come on, save your homes. What about you, Cook? Get your pots and pans ready. Come on, let's beat these guys and give them the fighting of their life, etc., etc. He doesn't actually say etc., etc. I just added that. And yeah, so they're kind of rousing themselves, and so you get a dim sense behind you that it's worked. These guys are starting to form into a bit of an actual coherent unit, and they're basically forming up around their champion, around Dominar. Timov, let's come back to you. So there's one extra thing above and beyond. You've heard wolf from above. Said wolf has now basically jumped. It was going to jump onto Dominar, but now has jumped onto Borin the fighter instead, and he's now kind of tussling his axes between it and its jaws. You also see where the rest of the howls have come from. At the front of the ravine, the path, in your way basically. You hear this kind of thundering pause. And you see another half dozen of these wolves thundering their way down the mountainside towards you. They're going to basically crash into you like a wave. There's rubble kind of running down the hill, and they're a fair distance away. They're probably kind of shouting distance away at the moment. Probably the extreme of bow distance right now, if you imagine. But it won't take long. It'll take seconds before they're on top of you. You've got a good crew at your back, including Lord Dominar. But you are kind of the first point of contact where you are right now. What do you do?
I think I'm going to stand in defense of myself.
Okay.
Let the wave of wolves crash against me. I'll just ready myself, put my shield forward.
Yep.
Just pray to Milka that this is going to work.
Absolutely, that sounds awesome. So obviously you can't redirect an attack from your. Well, you can redirect an attack from yourself to yourself, but other than that, yeah, you can totally do those other options. That's perfectly fine. So go ahead and roll +con for me. So we've got at the foot of this convoy, at the front of this convoy, you've got like this brave paladin who's basically kind of. Is it a big shield you've got? Is it like a tower shield, or is it like a smaller buckler?
It's a big tower shield.
Yeah. So you've just kind of almost dug it into the gravel in front of you, and you're just kind of forcing it there, and kind of the blue iron ring is starting to kind of crackle with energy as you breathe a prayer to your god and stand in defense.
Let's see.
And you get a double 6. Your prayers are answered, so you get to hold 3. So what do you do first?
Actually, because I'm a staunch defender, I get to hold +1 more, so I get to hold now 4.
Okay, you get to hold 4. So, as these wolves kind of crash into you, you are there. You were at the front of this convoy. It's kind of a tapering convoy, so they have to get through you first, and you are just there, shield in hand, glowing, very irresistible target. and they crash into you. What do you do? Do you open them up to an ally? Do you halve their attack or damage? Do you deal damage equal to your level?
Since I hold 4, I can use, like, could theoretically use all 4 options, right?
Okay, yep.
But
Tell me what-
I'll just open them up and
Okay,
half the attack. So I'm just letting them bite on me, so somebody else can just finish them.
okay. So you use 2 hold at once, basically.
Yeah, if that's possible.
Yeah. You know, I've never thought of that before, but I don't see why not. Because then you could use 2 hold in one go just to completely negate damage, couldn't you?
Uh,
Half
no,
the
I think
attack's effect on.
you would halve the half, so it would be
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
just a quarter.
Mhm.
But you could
Oh, no,
minimize.
okay, no, you could totally negate this.
Well, no, because I don't mind. It's, honestly, we stepped out of the game for a second because I've just thought that's a really interesting question. I've never even thought of that before. But I don't see the reason why not. After all, when you do discern realities, you spend your hold all in one go a lot of the time. So why not defend as well? It's not. It's a little unusual, but in the context of the game as a fight, yeah, there's kind of an ongoing conflict here. So why not spend your hold altogether? So yeah, you've got 4 hold. I mean, because the other thing is, even if it was like halving the halve, you could halve it down to an extent where it's absorbed by your armor. So, you know, it's almost irrelevant as to whether it does 1 damage or not. So, yeah. Do you want to spend one of your 4 holes to halve the attack and another one to open it up to other fighters? Is that right?
Yeah,
Open them up to give someone else +1 forward.
and since I have 4, I would also deal damage to the attackers equal to my level because I'm crackling with divine energy, and while they're biting me, they just get a snout full of electricity.
Totally. Well, I see it as like as you shove your kind of almost electrified shield into the floor, it almost like ripples through the kind of the vaguely like there's bits of gravel and flint and kind of vaguely metallic bits of ore and stuff in the ground, which all kind of catch and start flicking up. So there's kind of this corona of electricity that arcs in front of them as you kind of stand in the way. So it basically kind of flicks around them and just kind of stings them and static shocks them for 2 damage each. So these 5 guys each take 2 damage. Cool. So we've got 3, 4, 5, and 6 because there's 1 on Borin. He's at 2. He's at 2. He's at 2. 2. And the other one's not got anything yet. Cool. So there we go. There's 5 wolves all snapping around you, trying to get in. And you take. So there's 5 of them. You would take d6 plus 4 damage from. D8 plus 4 damage from these guys as they snap at you. Obviously, you're going to halve that though.
Okay.
D8 plus 4 divided by 2.
Do I
And you
round
roll
up or
that.
down?
You roll that, yeah. You roll everything. The GM doesn't roll dice
No,
because he's lazy.
Do I round up or down?
I think it's always down. Let's say down. Always in your favour.
Well, that's nice. So it was 5 plus 4. No.
It's Hunger Games. The odds are forever in your favour.
And I have a armor of 3, so I think this gets completely ignored.
Sweet. So there you go. So literally there's 5 wolves have leapt on you and you've just electrified them and just stood your ground. Because paladins are awesome like that. Borin, let's go back to you. There's 1 wolf who's snapping at your heels and face and axe and pretty much everything else. What do you do? If you do nothing, he's going to bite your head off.
I'm going to kick him back or shoulder him back just to give myself a bit of breathing room, and then downward swing with my axe, try and cleave his head in 2.
Nice. So unless there's anything in particular, any fighter moves I'm forgetting about, it's a straight up hack and slash?
Yes.
Cool. So he's circling around and you're just kind of eyeing him up at the right time to kind of heave your axe and get him right as he kind of launches his attack at you. That's what's going to happen, in theory. Let's see what the roll does.
And it has happened, 10.
It totally happened with a 10. Lovely. With that 10, you deal your damage, which is probably phenomenal because you're a fighter and fighters have silly damage.
Yes, and it's messy and forceful as well.
Yeah, it is.
It's 2 piercing as well, but I doubt he has armor.
They don't, no.
6.
Their thick fur is it's matted, but just coarse. It's nothing that really stands in the way of your blades.
There's a 6 damage.
Oh right, 6 damage. 6 damage. Nice, nice. That is enough to, with the messy and forceful. You basically he's leaping through the air at you, and you know he's because you're a dwarf, so he is like massive. I mean, he was towering over Morty as a human, and yeah, so you're half the size of Morty, and he's leaping at you. He's leaping almost like directly at your head, and you just get your axe in the way at just the right time and slam it down. And the force of it just kind of shoves him. It kind of almost recoils off of your own axe and splats against the side of the ravine, basically, and just poof, crumples into a bloody mess of fur and grossness and bone and stuff. And doesn't get up, surprisingly. Cool. And that's where you are right now. The forces are all kind of arraying themselves around you. Like Dominar's now marching up to kind of reinforce Timov, basically. And excuse me. And you're kind of almost caught up in that, I suppose, because they're going to be marching up from behind you, and like they're like right behind you, basically. So you've got like this about a dozen guys who have your back, and then behind them there's kind of the other dozen or so people who are just kind of sorting themselves out and keeping the donkeys and the gear and stopping the horses from running away and stuff like that. Which gives us a nice segue to pan out to what Morty can see, basically, which is these kind of almost battle lines being arrayed. There's these 5 wolves, kind of, which Timov is holding his own against for now, and Borin has managed to dispatch one of these wolves, but there's plenty more where that came from. From your position, Morty, you also see what looks like a dust cloud on the horizon, heading from the way you came. From if you're looking, if you've climbed up, and to your left is kind of going up the hill. To your right, you can see in the distance a dust cloud heading up towards you. You're not sure what's in that dust cloud at the moment, though. Although you've only glanced at it so far, you could always discern realities to try and get a better sense of what it is. Or you could jump down and get stuck in like a.
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, I didn't take note of this dust cloud, and I think, right, there's obviously something coming here. Right, well, I've got other stuff to deal with before that. And looking down, I can see that not far below me, there's my paladin ally, beset by wolves. So with a grin on my and seeing also that everyone else is kind of facing that way, it gives me a chance to sort of show off some skills. I take my rapier in one hand. And sort of give a hearty cry, ha ha, and jump and flip forward in order to try and land essentially on one of the wolves, plunging my blade into this thing's spine and take it out in one kind of swift and deadly move.
Awesome.
Which I'm going to say is this daring devil move that I get,
right?
Which is a roll plus dex, similar to my attack anyway.
Yes.
Which allows me to.
Does that replace your attack? Is it a bit like
it doesn't
the
replace
backstab?
it. It's a crazy acrobatic feat, so the attack would have to come afterwards, I think.
Yep.
But it allows me to choose from a selection of options, including where I want to be, don't attract unwanted attention, can grab someone and bring them along with me, or show off and feel fantastic about it, depending on my role. So. Whether I land this or not, I suppose, is whether I actually get to attack the creature,
absolutely.
The wolf as well.
Remember, you have +1 forward to spend thanks to Timov. So
that's true.
I guess you would use that on the attack. I guess you would use it on the actual attack itself.
Okay.
It makes sense, doesn't it? I suppose.
Yeah.
You would use that on the attack. So once you've actually landed.
Yeah.
From Timov's perspective, it's just get stuck in for Christ's sake.
Yeah. All right. So my roll first with just a +2 for Dex is 11.
Lovely. So you definitely do that.
Yeah, so I'm going to say that I end up on top of the wolf. And I get to choose 3 here. So I end up on top of the wolf, so I land definitely where I want to. None of the wolves notice I've done this because it's so quick, so I don't attract any unwanted attention.
Yep.
And then I take +1 forward because I'm showing off and feeling really good about the fact that I just nailed this landing. So I'm guessing I'm going to take a +4 to my roll here.
What's your
Right.
normal
Well, if I'm
stat?
attacking him with Dex,
Yeah.
with a precise weapon, that's
Yep.
a +2.
Okay.
+1
Yeah.
attack from that, and a +1 for my take forward.
Go for it. I wouldn't
Hopefully,
normally say +4, but yeah, go for it.
well, I can do +3. I don't mind. Like,
Normally +3 would be the maximum.
okay, I'll just do the +3. It's right. All right. Well, I got
Take
12.
+3, but take an extra D4 to the
Oh,
damage you
okay.
deal.
Well, I just rolled 12. So 3 and a 6, and plus my 3
Yep.
is 12. And then I do a D8 plus a D4.
Yeah. Take an extra D4 instead of that
Cool.
+1 forward.
9.
Nice. So before the wolves have even looked round, this corona of arcing electricity, they're all so focused on attacking the big iron paladin that they don't even notice this dashing flamboyant hero in their midst, rapier kind of straight down in a flip and a dive, and one of the numbers just taken out just like that. Boom.
It softens my landing for me.
Absolutely, it softens your landing for you. Yeah. So hell, it's a new sleeping bag.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Technically.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm gonna turn that thing into a pelt.
Cool. So that's 2 down, 4 to go, and the mysterious dust cloud in the distance, which only you're aware of at the moment, Morty. Timov, you're still in the middle of all of this. You can hear dimly behind your helmet. Have you got a helmet on?
Yeah, I'm wearing a helmet.
Yeah. So behind your kind of plate mail and the rest of it, you hear Jarvis telling you that there's the rest of the force is basically gathered behind you. You can hear the Borin the fighter kind of dispatching a wolf behind you and kind of joining the fray with a typical dwarvish grunt, and you hear the battle cries of the rest of them and Dominar saying, for the estate, for Chalcedon. As the rest of them kind of crash in around you. From now on, you guys, anyone who's in this, well, everyone's in this fight now. You're going to deal an extra D4 damage by default, just because if you land a hit, there'll be at least another peasant or two to land another hit alongside you. So there'll be a bonus modifier on these poor wolves as you attack them. Timov, in the meantime, they're still focused around you. You are the one who is kind of defending still. You are focusing your energy, your kind of electric energy, to kind of try and catch them and keep them occupied. You still have points of hold to spend. Meanwhile, they're kind of snapping at your heels. One of them gets its jaws around your shield, in fact, around the top of your shield. It just kind of starts biting through as it's still taking electricity as it's doing it, but it's trying to wrench the shield away from you. It's trying to sort of pull it away. And it's in its kind of iron-hard jaw grasp. What do you do?
One thing first, I failed at math. I actually took 1 damage.
Oh.
So it wasn't quite as impressive. I will just take my sword and try to stab the wolf straight into his head while he's trying to bite down on my shield. So
You're having none of this. It's your shield, not his.
Yeah,
yeah.
Eat
Absolutely.
steel, beast.
He is eating steel, technically, but
Well,
I take your point. Yeah. Cool. Sounds like a hack and slash.
Okay, that's +2.
Does anyone want to help him out while he's doing
I
this?
will. Well, considering I'm in the fray with all these other wolves,
Yep.
I want to, having killed one, I kind of want to pull my blade out and maybe slash. I'm going to say, let's say it's to my right because it's on these. I've landed like directly in front of him. So
Yeah.
as I'm kind of getting up, it's there and I slash at it as well to try and knock it back, just to give him a bit of help.
Awesome.
Do I need to
So,
roll
good. So roll plus your bonds, which at the moment are none.
0?
That's fine. We'll just roll straight up 2d6. Odds are still
Not
good.
well. That wasn't good.
Well, odds are great.
No.
But the plus side is you get free experience. Borin,
Yeah,
what are
that's
you
true.
doing at the moment while he's kind of trying to prise this wolf off this shield?
I'm just throwing myself into the melee, swinging left and right,
Mm-hmm.
trying to cleave wolves to pieces, really.
All right. Trying to cleave those wolfies to pieces. So it sounds like you're hacking and slashing as well. So why don't both of you go ahead and roll hack and slash. Morty, you take a nasty bite to the jaw. One of them managed to clamp as you're kind of slashing. It kind of clamps around you with the backslash, and deals you a nasty bit of damage, D8 damage to be exact.
Okay.
Just one of them,
Oh god.
and it's
Right,
clamped
okay.
to your.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
gonna
clamped
hurt.
Ah.
Yeah.
Could I then
Ooh.
now spend my remaining hold to half this, or should I have mentioned this before?
No, I'll allow it.
Thank you.
Because you're kind of
Right.
the fight is so close. You're all basically almost back to back.
Almost on top of each other.
This is the pilot episode where none of you know each other at the start, but you're firm buddies by the end. You know, because this is kind of the fight where you all have each other's back. It
Mhm.
seems.
Alright, still a meaty chunk though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, alright, so it's on my arm, is it? Like, or...
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I don't wear any armor on that, so yeah, it's gonna...
ouch. So that's
Yeah.
4 damage to you. Right.
Yep.
In the meantime, so we had a what have we got here? An 8, 9, 10. Is that Timov?
Yeah, that's a 10.
So you've dealt your damage plus that D4, and Borin, what's that?
I got 11.
11. Lovely. So both of you deal your loads and loads of damage and add a D4. And you're just wailing on pretty much everyone. This is almost we're almost zooming out of the melee here and just saying this is how the total fight goes now.
Okay, mine is a 6 because I get +1 for my sword.
Mhm. Cool.
Yeah, 6.
And Borin?
Mine's a messy and forceful but bitterly disappointing 3.
Okay. So we've got 4 people left in the fray. Let's say that one of those is currently on your arm, Morty, but takes some damage from. Did you say 6 total? Didn't you, Timov?
Yeah, 6.
Yes, that's right. +1 because of your longsword, of course. So, in fact, although it lodges onto your arm, it's also kind of almost hewn off. It's hewn off at the neck
Right.
by Timov's backswing.
So I've just got a wolf's face.
Yeah, that's it. So you just end up with like the wolf's like neck up to the neck, just kind of hanging off of your left arm. Or right arm, whichever, and that's kind of your forward swing, Timov. Your backswing kind of takes off the head of another one. You're not quite as successful, Tom, but on the 2 that you do damage, you and the kind of the other peasant folk and Dominar's mace, he's kind of holding his side there, and he's just kind of whacking at one of them and kind of whacks it kind of back into your range, and you manage to kind of launch it with kind of the back end of your axe, kind of you swing out that way and miss, and then we swack backwards, and with your backswing kind of clock it against the chin and get it kind of sprawling out of the melee. Which kind of knocks it at a really bad angle, but it's still going. Hang on a second, just tallying up a few bits here. Okay, and the other ones are just kind of biting and clawing around, but you just kind of do almost an indiscriminate shout at like the cook and the witch, actually. The witch herself, kind of, she's been kind of in the middle. She's still in the middle of this. You know, if this was a Warhammer unit, she's like the musician. It's like, what are you doing here? You don't even have a weapon. But she's there. She's still kind of keeping Lord Dominar's back. And as you kind of shout out, like, that one there, she kind of turns around. She basically turns into Storm from X-Men. Her eyes just go bone white, and she just launches this kind of arc of she kind of throws this kind of bolt of lightning, kind of it stabs through and streaks through the wolf, kind of goes straight through it, and leaves a nasty kind of burn on its side, and it's kind of tottering on its feet a little bit, but still there. That's the only one in the fray.
Did you say there's some big mountain guy covered in furs with us as well?
Yes, where is that guy anyway? In the middle of this fray, it's occurred to you that he's missing. Anyone wants to do a quick discern realities to work out? Actually, just call it a quick whiz roll to work out where he might have gone.
Oh, the dwarf noticed it.
Dwarf noticed it,
No.
Lauren.
I did notice it. Oh, it's just...
I've got to. I'm looking at this wolf. I'm not.
Sure.
Your new wolf head bracer.
Yeah.
I've got 9.
9. Okay. So you've got a decent enough sense. You're looking up and around. And you're like, where's that damned savage? Where's that damn barbarian gone? And you start shouting it out, and you get a sense that The barbarian, you haven't seen him for a while. You didn't see him. You didn't really see him at the start of the fight when you were actually ambushed by this wolf kind of throwing. The last time you saw him was kind of with the convoy at the back, right? He didn't join in. When you were trying to rally the troops, he wasn't in that crowd. And up until this point, he's been more or less at Lord, not all the time, because not everyone can, but he's been at Lord Dominar's side most of the time. But you didn't see him in that crowd of like the odd dozen that you tried to rustle up. And now you think about it, it's kind of odd that he wasn't. Where was he? But you can't place where he is now. He might be at the back. He might have done a runner. You're not, as of this moment, in the kind of hustle and bustle of the melee, you're not entirely sure.
Very quickly, are all the wolves dead now?
There's one left.
There's one left,
left,
okay.
and but to be fair, he's pretty easy to dispatch now.
Okay.
The fight is almost out. There's last two more wolves here. They're cornered, and they're probably still dangerous, but they are pretty much on their last legs. One of them has taken a nasty kind of burn from this weird lightning strike from Yosei. The other one's been kind of flung against the wall by the dwarf's backhand and has kind of crumpled against the side. Probably one of its, as you approach it. I think a few of the peasants would be kind of trying to cautiously kind of keep these things at arm's length now, but cautiously trying to dispatch them. If you do nothing, they'll probably do it on their own. They might take a couple of nasty hits themselves because they don't really know how to do it, but they'll probably do it well enough. Or you can you take this opportunity to take stock, guys. It's up to you.
I'm gonna pry this wolf head off of my arm, and I'm gonna look at sorry, just got the name right. Torbin, no, is that right?
Which one were you looking at? Sorry.
My paladin friend. I've just lost my notes.
Timov.
His name. Timov, sorry. I'm gonna look at Timov. I'm gonna give him a look of kind of like, because he's sort of helped me out here as well with this attack. So sort of like an acknowledging thank you, kind of like look, just not say anything, but give him like a curt nod and as I pull this thing off. And I'm going to walk up to where one of the peasants have got one of these wolves and sort of pull one to the side and walk in there. And if this thing's presumably not doing too well, I'm just going to end it quickly.
Sure.
Just kind of like, put my blade through its neck or something.
Its hackles are up, so
okay.
As you were basically you approach the one that got burned because it's the closest one. It's basically been
So all right. So if his hackles are up, it's kind of like
hackles are up and it's it's growling and no one wants to go close to it. So you kind of gently push one of the peasants aside as part of the circle, so it can't get out without going through one of you. Its hackles are up and it's kind of it's on its feet but shaky.
Okay, so with a sort of like sword up sort of flourish, I'm going to sort of try and in one sort of like dueling kind of strike.
Sure.
End its miserable.
End it quite happily. Go for a dex roll.
All right. Hopefully. All right. So that's an 8.
8. Cool. You managed to do it without as much. Basically, just as you're kind of doing the stylish flourish.
Yeah.
At the end of your flourish, it jumps at you. It kind of takes your kind of hand movement as an attack, and you have to kind of. And you're like, I'm sorry, my friend, but oh god! So you do dispatch it, but not as stylishly.
Not as stylishly as I'd like to. Yeah. Okay.
Is anyone doing anything with the other wolf? Timov, Borin?
Yeah, the same thing that he did, like giving him a graceful, quick death. And while I'm doing this, I'm nodding at Mortimer and just stab the wolf as quickly and as painlessly as possible.
Sure. Same thing. It's got its back against the wall, and it could definitely still lash out and bite. So again, it's going to be a hack and slash roll. One last hack and slash roll, basically.
Okay.
I'm gonna overrule that you do enough to kill it, but it does get a nasty bite in before it does so. It's kind of, you're like there and you're kind of trying to. How are you trying to do this? Are you trying to do it kind of gracefully? Are you trying to do this just done? Are you merciless? What? Honorable?
While I'm approach the wolf, I say a quick prayer to Milka to take this wolf and just quickly stab the wolf with my blade. Or at least I try to.
Yeah, as you launch in with your stab, it launches a final attack. Basically, your blade goes in like that, one hand, and it kind of rakes. It does one final rake in its death throw against your kind of your open side of your arm, where you're sort of the sort of the straps of your armor, basically, for D8 damage. One final, basically like the last of its strength, a frenzied strength.
Ooh.
Wow, lot of frenzied strength there. So you take a final D8 8 damage.
Uh, does my armor still count for that?
Yeah,
Also, it's just 5 damage.
you're a paladin, and paladins are armored up, so it kind of rakes against. It's not quite the nicest part of your armor, but it's armor nonetheless.
And it still hurts.
And it hurts like the dickens, absolutely.
All right, if I can, very quickly, I'm going to grab or walk over to sort of clean my bath and walk over to Borin, who I'm assuming is standing. I don't know, Borin. Are you just standing to one side, or?
I'm probably looking for this barbarian at the moment.
Okay. All right. So are you just quickly so I would know where you are? Are you looking up the ravine or down the ravine? Which way? Or
whichever way most people are, I guess. I'm going through the group to see if
most people
okay.
down the ravine.
Right. Okay. So I'm gonna walk down towards Borin, who I have seen has kind of got these guys on his side, and walk past Lord. Sorry, I keep forgetting names. Lord Dominar, and then kind of put an arm on Lord Dominar's shoulder and turn, and then motion to Borin to come over. And presumably he does so. Very quietly, I'll say, "This isn't over. There's something coming from down the mountain." But I didn't see what it was. To the two of them.
Dominar's
this might not be over.
Sure, Dominar's still being tended, so like you've kind of pulled in Dominar like that, and kind of under the crook of his arm, once again,
there's a witch just underneath me. Yeah,
the woman's kind of there, still just kind of like, how about you? Kind of, it's like almost like cleaning his armor and everything.
Yeah.
She can't help but fuss over the guy, and he's trying to kind of in the nicest possible way, he's trying to block her off. It's like, no, I'm trying to have a proper talk here, but can't quite. So she's still in the conversation, and Dominar's playing it, and he's trying to pay attention to you at the same time, and say, okay, so we should carry on heading up then. What's the trail, Borin? You were the one who was trailing and got the most information from those shepherds last. Which way should we go from here? Should we carry on as we are, or should we turn and face this threat?
Is the threat much closer now? How fast does it seem to be moving?
You only got a glimpse of it yourself, Morty, so you couldn't say for sure. All you saw was a dust cloud a fair old way down the road. Maybe an hour, maybe 40 minutes. And I suppose no more than 10 minutes has passed since you saw it.
Okay. So yeah, so I relay kind of like, I think they'll be on us like within an hour. That's probably what I would say.
We could try to slow them down. Maybe we could try and block off this ravine with some rocks.
Okay. I'll say I did see some larger rocks up when I was up there. So that's definitely something that can happen. But I might need your dwarven strength to help me with this.
Yes, dwarves are good at moving rocks.
If we've got a few minutes as well, I would also like to just really quickly, since if you've just got a moment of downtime, I wrote a bond very quickly.
Oh right, yeah, sure.
Just in that fight for Timov, which is Timov has shown potential for a life of high adventure. I will see what else he may offer before I asked him to come along.
Nice.
And I'm thinking of one for Borin as well, but just from that little fight there. Right, so I will lead Borin to those vines that I so definitely clambered up before, and kind of hoist myself back up, and then put an arm down to help him up.
Cool. Okay, so you've got a bit of time now, so there's no immediate defiance of danger to clamber up these vines. Timov, what's Timov doing in all of this? I'm sure Timov will be able to help with the rocks as well.
Yeah.
Or Timov, do you have your own agenda?
No, I think I'll help out with the rocks. That sounds like the best course of action right now.
Cool.
And yeah, maybe I even have something in my pack to help, like a little miniature jackhammer.
Okay.
like an enormous jackhammer.
So you've got your holy symbol. So unless you're talking about adventuring gear here.
Yeah, yeah, we could use the symbol for this.
Yeah.
It's still
Well,
got sharp edges.
but as far as put it this way, as your holy symbol is a iron ring that glows blue. It's definitely not a gnomish jackhammer. I appreciate
No,
what you're
no,
saying.
no.
I appreciate what you're saying, but
Well,
yeah.
it's a Swiss Army holy symbol.
Sure.
It also got a screwdriver and a corkscrew.
Well, what you've got at the moment, if I remember right, is you've got your adventuring gear.
Yeah, I've got
Um,
lots of adventuring gear.
So yeah, your adventuring gear could well be a Swiss Army knife or a corkscrew or a crowbar or anything else. You know, as long as you've got a use for adventuring gear, you've got any one of those things, and we only define what it is when you need it. And
Okay.
then once you don't need it anymore, it's a use is struck off, and that's that. Yeah, you could totally have some kind of like small gnomish drilling device or similar item like that, I suppose. That would almost be the equivalent of a crowbar, although of course more fanciful and electricary-esque and whatnot.
Or maybe some explosives.
Maybe a very minor explosive, very minor, yes, for the express purposes of basically dislodging a bit of debris.
Yeah, like
Because
a
bear in
symbol
mind,
full
if it was anything too significant explosive-wise, you'd already have it, right? It's not. That's
No,
not to
okay.
say such a thing doesn't exist, but I don't think it's on your person right now.
Yeah, okay, then that doesn't make sense. Maybe it's more like a small electrified pig.
Okay, so you've got a miniaturized electrified pick. You kind of, and this whole thing kind of in a burst of like electricity just kind of brings out into a small kind of crowbar style thing for you to use to kind of heave into the nearest rock face. So you spend a point of adventuring gear and you're kind of heaving into the side. So I think you're defying danger using con. And Borin, you're probably helping him do this then. Because while he's heaving
Pushing.
away, you're pushing and he's kind of levering away, and the two of you are working to just kind of clear the rock face. You could also help if you wanted to, Morty, or that might not be necessarily also putting a shoulder in. It might be kind of directing the others away from the kind of where this.
Yeah,
is
so
going.
I might be looking at. I think what I'd be doing is looking over the edge of the ravine where the others are, and ushering them up into it.
Yeah.
And kind of like don't not yet, not yet. Okay, now. Like just
Yeah, totally.
Like get everyone past, way clear before we even push this thing, because
Cool.
we don't squash any peasants.
Well, absolutely.
So
Okay, so Morty, Borin, you two roll plus aid, so +1 in your case, Morty, and +0 in your case, Borin. And you only get a maximum of +1
I got a 6.
or less. Less than +1 is also available.
Plus I got exactly 6. So
You got exactly 6. So
Yeah.
you mark experience. We'll come back to you in a
that's
moment.
going to be there's one squished peasant.
Borin, you get was that a 7?
7, yeah.
7. Okay, and let's see what the actual roll itself is. Go ahead and roll +con for me, Timov.
I can't seem to roll at the moment. I can't. I keep clicking on the dice stream thing, and nothing is happening.
That's weird. Do you want me to roll for you?
That would be great. Thanks.
Just try closing it and opening it again. It might help.
Yeah, just try that quickly.
Sometimes it bugs out.
Oh, I can't click anything right now.
Oh,
Everything is kind of just frozen.
okay. Well, let's do this roll quickly, and then after we've described the effects, you can log out and log in again and see if that helps.
Okay.
Yep. Cool. Okay, let's see. You roll.
Plus con.
There we go. Can you see that on mine? A 5 and a 4 plus your con.
My con is 2.
Okay, so 11. Cool. So you managed to kind of oust this rock quite happily. It would put you in danger, Borin, but there isn't really any danger in terms of moving this rock at the moment. However, I guess. Let me just think.
It lands on a donkey.
No, it doesn't. It's tempting. I think all the peasants get by. Actually, I think that they're keen to move on now. You see, and they were relatively well protected by all this, so they're in a position to start moving. So it doesn't take much more to you. All you got to do is like go, and they're already on their way. Right. So they're gone. That's not the issue. But as you're sort of turning to kind of oust them along, you find yourself slipping on a vine. You're right on the edge of the precipice, and you find yourself kind of slipping on a vine, and your foot kind of gets tangled up in one of the vines, and basically kind of launches you over the side. You land in the gravel, relatively soft, but your foot ends up all kind of tangled up. As the rocks all kind of tumble down, you don't get hit by the rocks themselves, but you do get trapped by them. A couple of sort of medium-sized rocks kind of crump around your foot, and it kind of all gets tangled up in the vine. And it's something you can't easily get yourself pulled out by yourself.
Okay.
So it's up to you guys, basically. You've got Morty's now basically trapped on his lonesome down here. The others are already sort of on their way. They've been told to kind of go, go, go. So they're going, going, going. They aren't necessarily going to catch up with you. Wait for you to catch up, rather. Timov, Borin, what are you going to do about your erstwhile companion, currently trapped up to his ankle in some rock?
I'm going to ask Timov if he can lower me down. It's quite a drop for a dwarf, especially a fat, clumsy one like me. And then once I'm down there, I'll try and lift some rocks off him.
Okay. That sounds like Timov's aiding, and Borin, you're doing the defy danger using con. I suppose the con is you're kind of enduring these heavy. Actually, no, I guess it's more strength than con, because you are just kind of pushing the rocks out the way. It's like kind of a burst of physical activity rather
I
than.
just realised I actually have a move, don't I?
Oh,
Of course you do.
yeah,
Yeah.
Ben bars.
Bend bars and smash rocks or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Something equivalent to that. Yeah, of course you do. Let's have a quick look at that. While you're doing your move, Alex, do you want to log out and log back in again? Are you still at levels?
Yeah, I'll try to close the browser and then
Yeah.
start it up again.
Sure. Okay, see you in a sec. Okay then, let's see. Bend bars and lift gates. When you use pure strength to destroy an inanimate obstacle, perfect. Roll plus strength. So why don't you go ahead and roll plus strength for me, Borin?
Yeah, it's good. It's 11.
11. Right. You can choose 3.
It's 3.
Doesn't take a long time. Nothing values damage. Doesn't take an inordinate amount of noise, and you can fix the thing again without a lot of effort.
My ankle's pretty valuable to me. Just saying.
But does it fix the thing? Is that the rock or your leg?
I don't know if my leg's broken.
Nothing values damage would be your leg, wouldn't it? So yeah, I'll go for the top 3. So I don't really care about the rock being intact afterwards. So yeah, the top 3.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah, so it doesn't take long, nothing of value is damaged, and it doesn't make a lot of noise.
Fair enough. Doesn't take a lot of noise. You're kind of carefully kind of digging it away, kind of scrabbling away at the lighter bits of gravel and whatnot, and then you find a couple of like larger sizes of decent kind of pieces of rock to. Sorry, just trying to re-invite Alex to the conversation. Find him for some reason.
I'm kind of still here.
Oh, you're still here. That'd be why. I thought you. Oh, I didn't even see you there. Everything went dark. How
Yeah.
weird. Okay, my bad. Sorry, Alex.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
You can't log out. We can
No,
still
we-
see you, which is really weird.
Yeah, it's. I'm now trying to use this through my phone to reboot my computer.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to boot you out of the conversation? Would that
Yeah,
be-
that
yeah?
would maybe be helpful. Maybe that is what's going
Sure.
on
All
here.
right. We will see you in a second then.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, that should have done that. Right, where was I? Long story short, you do manage to pull him out. His ankle's fine. He can move. He can run. And you manage to do it fairly quickly and fairly quietly. What you don't manage to do is set it up so that you can fix the thing. The thing in this case, well, the rocks are, you basically just kind of you tactically smash a couple of the larger sized rocks which are kind of either side of him, which kind of you basically crush into powder because you're the fighter and you can do that. The trade-off, of course, is that the thing you're trying to fix is the barricade. So as you two are kind of hot-footing it back along, you hear behind you a couple of the larger rocks start to dislodge and start tumbling down the mountain. To be fair, it might not be a bad thing because, you know, they might not be expecting a rock slide in their path, whoever they are.
Unless it's a crowd of orphans.
Here come the reinforcements, guys!
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no!
Yeah. Crap.
Yeah. So, well, whoever it is, the barricade itself is slightly compromised, and it won't blockade them. It won't halt their path for as long as you'd like.
Slow
So
them down, so we want.
it'll slow them down, but not as much as you'd like. So there you go. You're hot-footing it back up the mountains. You're on your way to reach basically the lead camp. You've got a good lead on the kind of the main guy's lead camp here. On your path as you're wandering back up, it's now kind of getting on for nightfall as well. So what do you guys want to do as far as camping is concerned? Obviously, you've taken a few scrapes and bruises. You could sort of stop and make camp if you wanted to. We could call it also. I'm aware that it's coming up for 10 o'clock now, which is later than we might start otherwise. So I'm just touching base as to how long people want to go on for. I'm happy to go on a bit longer today anyway, and
So
see
no-
things on a little
okay.
bit further.
Just quickly, you say we're on the sort of trail for this camp,
Yes.
and we're coming up onto it.
Mm.
Can we
basically-
can we see it? Do we know where roughly it is or anything like that? Or
No,
is it still too
you
far out?
can't see it at the moment.
Okay.
The information you've been told
Okay.
is that it's basically you follow the path and it's more or less at the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
So it's not, this guy is almost hiding in plain sight.
Okay.
Old.
Am I right in thinking?
You might know more. You might have been able to piece together more,
Yeah.
reading between the lines, or just getting a lay of the land.
Is what I'm thinking. If we're going to finish saying like quarter of an hour or whatever, I would be thinking. I think we'll say Morty's sort of like, okay, we've been out here for a few days. Things have been going well, but they're sort of starting to deter. I don't want this ending badly in the final moments. So his preference would be to attack tonight. Kind of, if we find them, get them by surprise, get them in the night, done with it. And he's kind of he's quietly relaying this to his allies here. I'm hoping the dwarf is going to like this idea.
So attack.
With the limited time out of game for a second, with the limited time we've got left, he's thinking, let's let the peasants rest up, and let's scout ahead, a small scouting party.
Okay.
See if we can find them. Come back and see if the Lord will agree to a kind of if we can catch how many there are, if we can sort of figure out like a plan of attack, and then we'll attack them.
Okay.
Given a bit that time or something.
Here's what kind of occurs to you as a group, maybe suggested by Dominar, or even by the witch herself, in fact. The situation is kind of as follows. You are working your way up for the 24 of you, you kind of have to take the main road because there's so many of you, it's impractical to do so otherwise. However, if you were to break off as a small group, what you could do is, instead of following the road as it curves around and up the mountain, you could just go straight up the mountain, climb up, and kind of short-circuit the journey, go up there super quick, approach this kind of camp at the top of the mountain from the other side, and launch a nighttime assault on this leader.
Because even if we come across them and things go wrong and we have to fight, we're dashing heroes. We can take a few of them out if we need to.
Absolutely.
Harry them and get out of there, and
yeah.
I'm sure my dwarven ally would like that idea.
It's possible you might have picked up, as an aside, it's possible you might have picked up a few kind of campsite rumors and stuff about who this guy is and what's going on here. If you want to, you can spout lore, but instead of rolling plus int, because this guy isn't like some guy in a dusty journal somewhere. This is rumors you've picked up from the camp. So you can spout lore, but you use charisma instead of your normal move.
Well, I would actually. Is that from, say, the people that we're with?
Yeah, it's something you've heard over the last few days, really.
Well, I would turn to my my dwarven ally here, Borin, and say, you've ruffled up a few of the locals. I've had a chat. I've got to know quite these off our militia quite well. Let's see if we can accumulate some knowledge here and figure something out. So I'm thinking, because if he knows stuff from the locals, I might know stuff from the guys with us.
Sure.
And we could combine our sort of like our knowledge in that way, maybe.
Sounds good. Who's got the better charisma here, Morty?
Well,
Probably me.
I'd share a drink with some people and see what they know around the camp.
Okay.
My dwarven food.
Yeah.
So that would be,
wait a minute. I just no, sorry, God, I know this move, but this is good.
let me draw on myself. When you share a drink, you may parlay with them using con instead of charisma. Yeah, let's do that real quick. Well, parlay is to seduce or manipulate them into doing something you want. You don't really want to get someone to do something you want. You want to find out some stuff. You're just kind of trying to ask questions and pick up some rumors. You're not trying to manipulate someone here. Sorry, 1 second. I've just got a message from Alex. I'm just going to try and re-invite him.
Also, as well as asking if they know anything about the bandits, I'd also like to ask if anyone saw where that barbarian went to.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit suspicious. All right, so I'm gonna. So yeah, I'll. Do you want me to roll plus charisma for what I know from before, or like just general chat?
Yeah, if you want to just kind of rack your brains. So yeah, Morty, if
Okay.
you want to rack your brains as far as what you've remembered from the last few days and think, oh, hold on, what about this thing about this guy I heard? So you can do that.
Okay.
Borin, if you're just trying to kind of take stock of the camp as people are wandering by, you're not really sharing drinks with people here. Well, maybe you are. Maybe you're sharing your hip flask, I suppose. And you want to try and pick up where, this other guy might have got to. I suppose. Again, it's not. You're not parlaying though. You're not manipulating someone into doing what you want. You're just trying to understand something. So I'd say it's just defying danger using charisma, really. Just asking the right questions at the right time.
Okay, so I got a 9.
Okay, you got a 9. So you remember or have heard something interesting. It's up to you to make it useful.
Okay.
You've heard that the leader of these guys is an escaped Chalcedon convict called Arvin, a dwarf who escaped Chalcedon prison some time ago and basically legged it to the mountains and has started his new empire from there.
Yeah.
So that's what you know. Tom, coming back to you then quickly. You've just recap for me one last time. Sorry, I guess it is getting a little bit later. Just recap for me one last time what it is you're trying to do here. You're trying to find out about where the big barbarian went, right?
I'm trying to find out if anyone saw him slink off or doing anything suspicious, or
Saw him, yeah.
if anyone knows anything about him that could be of interest.
Okay. So you're asking around the camp, basically, as to
I've got a
see
vision of
where's he
myself
got
sort of
to.
sat round the fire,
Because
passing
you could
around.
just discern realities. You could just ask. You could just look around, couldn't you? You could just discern realities of the camp at present, or the convoy at present, and take stock of where we might have got to from discerning realities. Or you could try and find the right people to ask, I suppose. Depends on how you're approaching this.
Anyone that specifically saw him slink off at any point and where he went.
Okay. All right. So let's do this as 2 rolls. First things first, we're going to do a defy danger using wisdom to see if you can spot any people or persons who spotted him go, or even helped him go, or him himself. So first of all, it'll be a wisdom roll. Secondary after that will probably be a charisma roll, or maybe again a con roll or something like that, to kind of work out where he went based on asking the right questions. Okay?
I got 7 for the first one.
Okay. You see a few people kind of slinking around at the back who look like in Game of Thrones, the wildling lady at Winterfell, the one who they capture and she becomes a handmaid, Osha.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You see a couple of people like her, a couple of people who look like converted mountain folk.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't as rough and ready and rugged, but they look like, there's still a question about where on closer inspection, you wonder where their loyalties might lie, and you think, right, I'm going to peg them. If anyone in this Ragband team of peasants knows, it'll be them. So you approach them, and they turn to face you. Everyone's kind of slowly work. No one's really stopped to make campers yet. People are still on the original plan of slowly working their way up the mountains, keeping a cautious eye as they go. And they kind of turn to face you. You kind of drop back to kind of speak to them, and they turn and face you. cold eyes looking at you. Don't give you anything. What do you do?
So they're looking a bit hostile, are they?
Not hostile, but they aren't threatened by you.
They should be.
Right. How are you going to do that? How are you going to make them?
I suppose first off, I'll literally just ask outright. Did you see where? Do we know his name? What's his name?
Targan.
Did you see where Targan went?
They're like, and they're kind of making their way up the hill, just like, nope, didn't see Targan, nope. And they basically just both reply. There's two of them there, they're just general like farmers, and they're both lugging kind of a satchel of supplies. Just like, nope, didn't see Targan. And the other one basically echoes the first, nope, didn't see Targan. Anything else?
I might bash their heads together.
Right, okay.
So
Go for it.
you heard me properly. Let's clear out that wax. Bang!
Nice. Sounds like it sounds like you're trying to intimidate them. Go ahead and roll plus strength. Your show of force.
10.
10. All right. You can pull your punches if you want to. You don't have to deal them damage. You can just intimidate them with a 10.
Yeah, I don't want to hurt them. They might be innocent.
All right. So you grab them by the hair, their shaggy hair, and you clock them, but in a way that you don't kind of fully smash them together. You don't break some skulls here. You just kind of bring them kind of almost perilously close to each other to show that you mean business, and they know that you've pulled your punches a bit. And they kind of shake you off and went, "Ah!" And then one of them's dropped their pack, and it started tumbling down the side. And like, what is this? And you say to them, maybe you didn't hear me right. One of them looks. They both look at each other, and the first one kind of goes to say something, and the second one's like, "No," and the first one's like, no. He has kind of a more nervous gleam in his eye now, and kind of the second one's trying to stop the first from saying anything, but the first does anyway. And he's like, "We don't know anything about Targan, but he might have run off back into the wilds. We think he might be heading back down towards the estate." No, in fact, the first one says back towards and then the second one interrupts him by saying back towards the estate.
So so one of them is obviously more forthcoming than the other one. The one that's obviously hushed him up, I'm gonna just throw him away. Get out of here, and then I'm gonna have the other one by himself.
Cool. Hold that thought for just a moment. What I'd like to do, guys, because I'm not sure what's happened to Alex right now. It says he can't rejoin. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the broadcast. I'm going to launch a new Hangout very shortly and just re-invite all of you. And we'll just pick things up from there, okay? So we're going to hold it on the thought that you're going to throw away the second guy, and the first guy, the guy who's more amenable, you're going to really grill him. All right? Cool. All right. I'm going to stop the broadcast now, and we'll come back to this in just 5 minutes. Cool. Cheers, guys.